Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm WoWcrendor, and today I am joined by Oxhorn.
Howdy there, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is the third episode of Fishing with Crendor. And I think I thought you'd be a fitting guest, so I was like, you know what? Why not reach out to Oxhorn and have him show up?
Well, thanks for inviting me. It's been a while since I've played this game. I had to reactivate my WoW subscription to fish with you today.
Yeah? How long it had been since you actually played the game?
Gosh, well, I last had my account activated in 2013 when I shot footage for my last movie into the 10, but I didn't even play before that. Honestly, I haven't played the game since Cataclysm. And I didn't even play Cataclysm. I played I played the snot out of Wrath of the Lich King. I loved that.
Yeah.
And then I stopped playing, and then my brother, or no, it was my mom actually. She plays, and she played Cataclysm. And she says, "Oh, Brandon, you got to play Cataclysm, or at least level your character." So I'm like, "Fine." So I spent 2 or 3 days just plowing through as many quests as I could to get to level 85, and then I stopped. Just logged off.
you
That's
just,
it.
so you legit just hit 85, and you're like, well, I'm
Yeah.
done.
Here you go, Mom. Done.
Does your mom still play?
She does. She took a big break during Mists of Pandaria,
No.
as I think many people did.
Yeah.
But she came back for Warlords of Draenor, and she joined a new guild, and so she's having a good time.
Ah. Well, there may be some people that don't even know who you are, so why don't you tell everyone what you've done and why you're here talking to me?
Sure. I am your neighborhood friendly Oxhorn, here as always with my suspenders set to maximum stun. I made World of Warcraft Machinima movies for years, starting in about 2007. And, right when I graduated from college, I just dove into making these movies. And I was fortunate enough to get hired by a company called WeGame, which is sadly gone. But back in the day, they hired me to do nothing but just sit in an office and make World of Warcraft Machinima,
The dream.
which was awesome. I pumped out some of my most favorite movies during that time, but I made Rafflemau and the Inventing Swear Word series, an Associate Professor Evil Kills All, insert something here, and a bunch of music videos like, gosh, what music videos have I done? Oxhorn Brand Medley, and Like the Game, and Punting Gnomes Overboard, Gnome Overboard, that's what it was. A bunch of stuff like that.
You can literally just YouTube Oxhorn, and you'll find all of them. But, it's kind of crazy, because I started making videos right after you already made a lot of them. Like, I think you were probably getting towards the end of making videos when I started.
Yeah, I think so. My machinima career occupies this strange space and time when I don't think gamers knew what they were looking for in this kind of entertainment, and I don't think companies knew the potential of machinima, and we certainly didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
We were just making fun videos, right? That were
Yeah.
just for the heck of it. This was before there were Let's Plays and all of that, and one day I just decided, oh, I think I'm gonna do a spoof on that Manamana video, and I'm gonna put my 3 characters in it, and we're gonna go Rafflemau, do 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 do, Rafflemau. And so I put that online and forgot about it, and about 3 months later, somebody messaged me and says, "Hey, did you know that your videos got like 3 million views?" I'm like, "You kidding me? What?" So I logged on, and holy cannoli, it had 3 million views, and I'm like, "What am I gonna do with this?" So I figured I'd keep on making movies. But it was odd timing because I published almost all my movies long before YouTube even had a monetization platform in place.
Yeah.
So couldn't even make money off of these things, and none of my movies had ads, and that's when they were collecting all of their views. It was YouTube was in its infancy. You couldn't even do anything in HD. You go back and look at some of my movies now, and you're going to sit there and go, "Oh man, doesn't this Oxford guy know anything about 1080p?" And I promise you, I do. But at the time, it was common to make movies in like 360, 400, or whatever. It was
Yeah.
a fairly common thing.
Well, even like computers weren't good enough to kind of handle that type of processing.
Well, Holy cow! I just got an achievement, 50 fish. What?
Moving up in the world.
Moving up.
But I mean, yeah, I know there was you, there was Mindflame or Clint, and he had Illegal Danish. There was Ian Beckman.
That's
He
right.
had what was it, the
Azerothian
villains?
supervillains.
Azerothian super villains.
I
There's
think
kind
he's
of the
still
big.
doing stuff too.
He is. I think he's kind of moved away from WoW as much. I think it's only like half WoW, and then half he does other stuff. But
Yeah,
and
you
I
kind of
know,
have to these days though with let's plays and all of that. Like if
yeah,
that was one of my weaknesses, and that I only ever played World of Warcraft. I did not play Call of Duty, or I played a few games like Team Fortress 2 and stuff like that, but this was really all I did. And I didn't do let's plays. I made machinima, and each machinima was a time intensive, laborious process where I would spend 3-4 months making a movie and doing compositing and scripting and recording and making music, and it was a big production.
yeah,
And I'd put something like that out, and then someone would record themselves, you know, wiping an raid and get 50,000 views in a day. And I'm sitting there going, is this really worth my time?
yeah.
I
You
don't
gotta
know if I can
determine
do
like
this.
whether that's gonna be just a fun little hobby you do, or if you can actually do it as a career.
Yeah.
So I mean, with my style, I can make them a lot faster than like your type of video where there's a lot of like very hard editing that goes into it. Mine's just kind of like characters talking, and it's like, all right, well, But I mean, that was also my style in a way. Like that's what I
Yeah.
enjoyed making. So I'm not gonna just make what I don't want to make, or because I know a lot of people that are far better at editing than me, and I'm like, well, I can't really compete with them on that level. So I'll just do my like what I do best, which is mainly writing.
And that's the same with me. There are so many of my fellow machinimators at the time who were they were really getting into like 3D Studio Max and learning how to do this really fancy stuff. And I was more interested in the two-dimensional space, a lot of compositing, and that was part of the fun for me. I would sit down and I would learn After Effects and I would learn Premiere Pro, and every time I made a movie, I got a new skill set, and that was a lot of fun. For a while there, I thought I was gonna um, position myself as a video editor and animator before I went into marketing, which is what I do now.
So how do you even like get into machinima? Like how do you even find out about it?
Well, I didn't really. I mean, it wasn't a thing. It was. I played World of Warcraft, and well, before I played World of Warcraft, I played a game called Dark Age of Camelot. I'm sure some of your viewers have played it in the past,
Yep.
but that was honestly the first game I was really into. To be honest, I spent way too much time on that game in my early 20s. I would probably kick myself now, but that game I got really into, and at the time I loved the game so much that I wanted to make some movies, and they didn't have Fraps then, and it was harder to use video editing software then. Adobe Creative Cloud didn't exist, and so I made
Yeah.
a lot of Flash, just sort of image slideshows. But when World of Warcraft came out, a couple years go by. I'm graduating college. Technology's a little bit better. I realized I can make moving videos, and I'm like, oh well, let me make some movies for World of Warcraft. And I found a community online of other people doing so, where I met Clint and the Tarn brothers and these guys doing gnome videos. And
Even Taryn Gregory,
that's right, even Taryn
who works for
Gregory, yeah.
Blizzard now, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, he and we were all making these videos for fun and publishing them on X. No, what's it called? Xfire.
Xfire.
That's right.
Yeah.
And there was this big forum where all of the machinimators would go. We all just sort of congregated there and shared our movies, and then they started having Xfire contests, and so we made even more movies for the contests. That's kind of really how it started, and we didn't even know it was called machinima at the time until you know until that term became adopted by the industry.
Yeah, and now when you think of machinima, everyone thinks of the company, and
Right.
not the actual act of making it.
They got the .coms. They are official now.
Yeah, but it's probably a bad thing that it gets related to them. So,
Yes,
I mean,
well, I could go off on machinima.com, but I think I'm going to keep
I
this
think
classy.
everybody knows about them. I have stories with them as well that I'd I've moved past. But how about like just World of Warcraft? How do you even get into World of Warcraft? Because I know you said you played Dark Age of Camelot. So how do you find out about WoW and then actually start playing it?
Well, one day, my old server in Dark Age of Camelot, I was on the Percival server, Hibernia Percival. I was the raid leader there. My character's name was Staghorn, and we had a big in-person get-together. It was the very first. I don't know if there's a name for it, but we got together in real life, and everyone was grilling hot dogs or whatever. And of course, as it is with these things, there was the group of people who didn't want to socialize with other human beings.
Yeah.
And so they were all set up in the living room with their computers playing games. And one of them was in the World of Warcraft beta. And I walked in and I saw the graphics and I saw the gameplay, and it was so much better than anything that was available at the time. I mean, if you'd think about World of Warcraft graphics now and you think, wow, it really needed to be updated, and there are still places in the game that are horrible. But at the time when this game launched, yeah, it did have a cartoony feel to it. And yeah, there were better looking games out there. But the way it felt and the way the characters were designed and the way the world was pieced together, it was way, way better than anything else. I played Asheron's Call. I played I can't even think of all of them. Something about Conan. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Age of Conan.
Age of Conan, yeah. And these games, they had their glitches, and nothing really went together right. It just didn't piece together right.
Mm-hmm.
But then I saw someone playing World of Warcraft, and I'm like, wow, this is really well made. And from then on, I thought, I want to be a Tauren. I want to learn plane striding, and I want to play this game.
I know. Oh yeah, I remember they used to have the planes runner ability with Tauren.
They said that we wouldn't be able to have mounts because we were too big.
Yeah.
So they were going to give us this plane striding or plane running ability that would basically be our mounted ability.
So you actually had the name Staghorn before you even played a Tauren.
I did. The reason I had my Dark Age of Camelot character named Staghorn is because he was a Furbolg hero, and in that game, you could transform yourself into a giant stag. And my guy collected spears, and so I would turn into a giant stag and run around on 2 feet with a spear in my hand and look ridiculous. But hey, I was having a good time.
It carried over to WoW pretty well too.
It did. I got lucky. Well, when I came over to WoW, I started my new character, and I'm like, okay, so I was Staghorn in the last game, and this guy, he's not a stag. He's kind of like an ox creature, so I'm going to name him Oxhorn. And then I made a warrior alt named Staghorn, and then I got...
Well, that's pretty cool. So, like, did you play a lot when you first started? Like, were you addicted, or did you take breaks? Because I know when I first started, I'd play for, like, maybe 20 or so levels, because it's harder to level back then.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, all right, I'm going to go play something else, and then I'd come back to it, and kind of off and on.
No, I wasn't like that at all. If I could go back to my 23-year-old self, I'd pick myself up. But I'm the kind of personality where if I start something like this, I'm one of those guys that wants to find every secret in the game and unlock every chest and get every quest line.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I was with World of Warcraft. I spent my last couple of college years, if I wasn't in college, I was doing this. And I was leveling my character, and I was doing Arathi Basin and the Battlegrounds, and I was pretty competitive. I spent the final summer vacation between quarters just really doing nothing but playing World of Warcraft, frankly. And it was great for when I made my movies, because I knew the world really well, and I knew my way around, and I could I could have sophisticated things to say about the culture, the gaming culture. Mm-hmm. But as I started my career and wanted a family and all of that, I just, at least with my personality, I can't devote the time necessary to have the enjoyment from a game like this that I want, while also doing other things. So I had to step back, which is why I'm level 85 right now.
Yeah. I think that's what they're trying to do with the game now too, is they try to make it more casual, so like people like that can actually play the game. But when you do that, at the same time you're kind of catering to two audiences, and that makes it a lot more difficult. While back then they were more just like, if you want to be a hardcore WoW player, you'll do it.
Yeah, and that's why the only game I play today is Hearthstone. I'll
Mm-hmm.
play for a couple hours a week, and I don't have. I think I've got one legendary card. I refuse to spend money on that game, by the way. I just refuse to spend money on the game. But I've got one legendary, a couple of epics, and I just dink around with that as a time killer once or twice a week.
Yeah,
And that's my gaming these days.
because I know you said you haven't played WoW since Cataclysm, so you don't know about like the garrisons
No,
or any of that. Did
no,
you
my
play the
mom will.
beta?
I haven't played anything since Cataclysm. I
Mm.
didn't finish Cataclysm. My mom will say, "Hey, you really need to come back to the game. These garrisons are great. It's kind of like player housing in Dark Age of Camelot." And I'm just like, I can't get into this again. I just can't.
Yeah.
So I just my account's been deactivated for a year, almost 2 years, about 2 years now.
Hmm. Well, the biggest thing with garrisons right now is that it almost feels more like a Facebook game. It's like when you
Really?
first get it, you're like, all right, this is really cool. You send your followers out on missions to get stuff, and you gather all your resources, and you get all your little garrison things like you can do, and you can be like, I want to build a stable, or I want to build this, and you're like, this is fun. But then after a few weeks of doing that, you realize that you're just logging in, you're sending your followers out to get stuff, you're gathering your things, and it's just a repetition, and you're like, it's like a little mini game. You're not even
You're not
like,
even really playing full game.
yeah, it
Yeah.
could be a single player game at that point. And
Well,
that's the biggest issue everyone's having.
I credit Blizzard for trying to find innovative ways to make this game appeal. I mean, this game is over 10 years old,
Yeah.
and there are still millions of people logging in every day to play it. How does that happen? How does a company make such a shocking success like this?
Hmm.
They have to innovate. They've got to pivot. They've got to come up with new ideas. They've got to come up with new strategies. They've got to try to appeal to the market of gamers that are playing games today, and that's what they've tried to do. So I have to give them credit for that. But for me, as someone whose longest and whose longest memories of WoW and whose deepest sort of nostalgia and emotions of WoW are from vanilla WoW, from you know pre-Dark Portal and Outland and all of that.
Hmm.
Logging into the game after all of this time, like logging in to do this fishing with you
Hmm.
was a shockingly emotional experience for me. I didn't expect myself to feel the way that I did. I'm opening my bags for the first time in 2 years, and I was telling you earlier that I was going through my inventory looking for my fishing pole, and I found a bag. And you know how on crafted materials it'll say this item was crafted by so and so.
Yep.
I saw the name of an old friend, an old guildie that I used to play with every single day of my life for years, and that's a person that I haven't talked to in probably 4 years now or so.
Yeah.
And seeing that just kind of made me go, oh my gosh, I've got all of these memories and friendships tied to this game, and frankly, I want to remember my WoW experiences the way they were. I don't want to go back and kind of overwrite all of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's a weird analogy, but I went to a high school,
Hmm.
as many of us did, and mine was demolished a couple years after I graduated, and the entire high school moved. And I heard about that, but I never went back to visit it. But I did finally with a friend. We drove to. It had been flattened and turned into a parking lot. And we went there, and it was so just overwhelming to see a place where I had spent 12 years of my life reduced to nothing but pavement, and all of those memories and all of those sports games and all of those classes. Those things only existed now in my memory. I can still tell you the layout of that high school, every brick of it, because I spent so many years there, but it's gone, and it's only there in my memory now. And it's kind of that way with World of Warcraft. You see things in your mind the way they used to be, but you go there now and it's not there anymore. It's just not the same. And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I'm continuing to no longer play the game, is because I cherish those memories, and that was a good time of my life. And I'm going to enjoy them and move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, it's the tornado in the background. All those memories, they're all flying away.
Exactly. Here's an old place I remember, except for that giant tornado in the background.
It's It's weird because it's oddly relatable to like what a lot of people say in real life. We're like, yeah, I remember my high school days, or like back when I was on the football team. See, there's a lot of people that say that, or, like the good old days. And then it's weird because it's like for a lot of the newer generation or people like under 40, it
Hmm.
relates to video games
Yeah, exactly.
because you spend time in the virtual world, and then after a while being in that world, it becomes real. So it's very real to you, and you spend it there with real people.
And that's the thing about the good old days, because we as a people, we evolve, our memories change, our experiences change, and we have these snapshots of the past, of the good old days, of the way they were. And if we do anything to mess with that, if we try to stay there, if we try to live in those good old days again, it's just not the same, and we can ruin those memories. I was talking with my family about this, and I was raised in a small fishing village in Alaska called
Mm.
Cordova. That's where I spent most of my childhood.
Yep.
And we left when I was 7 or so. We moved to Washington State. And, my entire family, we all have very fond memories of that old fishing village. But since then, they've actually gotten paved roads, and the airport has more than one runway now, and there are actually buildings there with more than one floor. And, the place has changed so much
Yeah.
that you wouldn't recognize it. And so even though I'm tempted sometimes to go back there just to kind of see what it was like, I won't, because I won't recognize it. It's gone. It only exists in my memory.
And it's almost impossible to do it because you think even back to people where they're like, well, what about vanilla WoW? Why can't we have vanilla WoW servers? Or that? But it's like it's not even the same in that aspect because back then, like the mid 2000s, you had no data mining of like all the new stuff. Like every time a new patch hits, they're like, here's all the things we've data mined from the server, like public test realm thing. And it's like back then you didn't even know. It's just like we have Thoughtbot and
That's right.
that's about it. you know.
Man, ThoughtBot, that was my Wikipedia. That was my daily research.
Yep. And it's like now you have so many sources and you have so much information just coming at you just constantly, and it's like you can never go back when like the culture's changed.
Mhm. Very true.
So, what about uh, good memories you did have like back in those times? Like some of your favorite memories?
Gosh, I enjoyed remembering when Molten Core and Onyxia were these huge, epic encounters. I remember standing in Orgrimmar waiting for hours to be invited by this really this guild that only invited the best of the best. And here I am trying to collect the best gear and get to level 60 and make sure I have enough seeds in my inventory, and just so that I can have a chance to go and see Onyxia and
Yeah.
and go into Molten Core, and weeks went by, and I was passed over and passed over and passed over, and finally they needed a druid healer, and I was feral spec'd, and I respected to healing just so that I could go, and I lied to them. They're like, "Can you heal?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I can heal. I could totally heal." And I got in, and I got to see these wonderful places that I would never have been able to see. And I remember the feeling of how that was kind of exclusive and cool and fun. But now, you can just kind of walk into Molten Core, and at least I think, I don't even know. Can you go to Molten Core
You
these days?
can.
You can.
They
Okay.
actually, for the 10-year anniversary, they brought back Molten Core,
Oh,
and they had it be a big event, and they made it just as hard for like the current members, and it took a very long time to do. And by doing so, you could get a Molten Core Hound pet
oh wow.
or a mount. I think it might have been both. I have it. I don't know where it is, but it was it's definitely interesting because everybody talks like, oh yeah, I remember Molten Core and all that, and I wish I could do it again. And they're like, well, here you go, do it again, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, it's a really long, tedious process.
Yeah.
So it's like
It's
when you
it's
do that, it's that nostalgia feel, and then you actually experience it again. And you're like, you know what? Maybe it wasn't
it's
as great.
I have to sympathize with Blizzard because it's impossible to please the fans. It
Yeah.
really is. No matter what you do, you're gonna make some of them angry. You're gonna make something that they don't like, and if you do make something that they ask for, you're gonna have made it wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where sometimes you just, as a player, you just kind of gotta let go a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and not take it too seriously.
Especially when there's millions of people that you're trying to please.
Yeah.
You're definitely not going to please all of them.
Yeah, sometimes I have been tempted to be that guy who logs into the Alakazam forums and writes a 15-page manifesto of all of the things that Blizzard does wrong with the game,
Yeah.
all of the things that I would do better if I worked there and all of that. But then I'm like, you know what? I have no idea. These
Yeah.
guys, I won in 14 million at the time or whatever, and these guys know what they're doing.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things is everyone's like, if I worked at Blizzard, this is what I would do. And it's like, it's great to say those things and it's great to talk about them, but like actually implementing them and going through that whole process and having designers like split their time up and like work on specific things and ignore other parts of the game. And it's like, then you do all that and if it fails, you're like, well, oh well. But if it fails for them, they just wasted all that time doing something they could have spent other time on.
That's true.
And it's very, it's more complex than people think it is.
Being a druid was a lot of fun in Vanilla WoW. I'll tell you one of the things that I did that really I had a lot of fun doing it, but man, I made some enemies. I back in the day, I went to Theramore Island and I cast thorns on myself. You know how
Yeah.
we have that thorn spell where, at least at the time, I don't know if they've changed it, but it was a dots or a damage over time spell where if they touched you, they would get a little bit of a damage.
Yep.
Well, what I did is I would stealth into Theramore Island, and then I would go into bear form, I'd cast thorns on myself, go into bear form, and then I would aggro all of the level 40 gray guards in the entire town. And they would attack me, and then they would die, but I wouldn't get flagged for PvP. So I would sit in the middle of the town, and all of the guards would be attacking me, and all I would do was pop out of bear form to throw thorns on myself every, 30 seconds or so, and I'd kill these just vast piles of guards building up as the guards respawned, and everyone in that town just logging onto their alts and cussing me out, and Oxhorn, you're such a jerk, and blah, blah, blah. I'm sitting there just cackling, killing all the guards in Theramore Isle. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think it flags you, but
Yeah.
at the time it was a lot of fun.
I think even I don't even think Theramore's a thing anymore. I think it got blown up.
Did it? Oh my god.
I think it got blown up in Pandaria. At least I'm pretty sure it did, unless I'm thinking of somewhere else. But I'm 90% sure.
That town in not Dark Shore, the swamp area south of the Barrens.
Oh yeah, Dustwallow Marsh.
Dustwallow Marsh. Yeah, that town. That's the town I'm talking about. Is that Theramore?
I mean, yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
And it's gone now. Oh.
Yeah, I think it got bombed by Garrosh or something. Something happened, and I think it's gone.
Gosh.
But that's how the times are changing.
These times they are. Look at us old fogies sitting here talking about the way
I
the game
remember
was 4 to 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It is weird because it's like a game that lasts that long has so many memories tied to it. I know, it's weird too. I don't know why I had this thought, but like the videos that are made for the game also go through that because I know people now when I make videos like your old videos are better. But I feel like a lot of that ties into nostalgia as well. Because I'll go back and watch my old videos and be like, these are worse than my current video. Like production quality and just everything. And I think that happens, it just happens with everything.
Yeah, well, you get better the longer you do something, and I'll go back and look at my first movies and think, wow, I should have done that, or I should have done that. But then I'll have somebody tell me, hey, Inventing Swearwords 1 is my favorite movie you've done, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And, even nowadays, I'll have people who are 14, 15 years old, they'll message me and say, hey, Oxhorn, I just wanted to say hi, you were a big part of my childhood. And I'm sitting here going, holy cow, wow, I really was? Well, thank you. It's touching, but I never really thought of that, watching my videos was a family event for them. These geek parents with their geek kids would sit down and watch my Inventing Swearwords series, and they would buy my albums, and then that becomes part of, it's no longer mine, right? It's part of their childhood. It's part of their memories. It's really theirs. And it's humbling to think that something that you put together, and you might not have put a lot of thought into it, or you did put a lot of thought into it, but it became a fond memory for someone else that they'll cherish for the rest of their lives.
I think that's why I kept doing the whole YouTube thing. Is you start to realize after a while how much you're actually impacting people and how many people you're actually impacting. Cause it's easy to like look every month and be like, oh, I got this many views and this many numbers and this many likes and blah blah blah. But then you realize like, wow, that many people are watching this. And it's kind of a mind-blowing statistic.
Yeah, and I was tempted at one point to do the gaming videos where I'm doing a commentary or playing around. And I've seen other people make those, and they've had great success, and people do like enjoying those. But I just got a lot more personal satisfaction from writing a script and having characters that have backstories and coming up with jokes and all of that. And that was the way that I had fun making those videos. And if I had to do it a different way, because it was the best way to get the most views or it was the best way to make money, it would cease to be a source of enjoyment for me, and I would get less personal satisfaction from it. Now, there are many people who do get personal satisfaction from making that kind of content, and I applaud them because people will watch it and they enjoy it. But just for me as a machinima guy, just someone sitting there with fraps and a computer, that's how I really enjoyed myself, and I don't think I could spend my time doing it a different way.
Yeah, like I'll enjoy when I make those types of videos, me just playing games or whatever it may be, but like it does feel a lot more fulfilling when you do create like a machinima or a big story project, and you just feel, I don't know, it's like a different feeling as opposed to just like I sat down and played a game. It's like you worked on something and watched that piece of work come to life that you envisioned your whole, like in your mind that whole time.
It is. It's just like that.
So what would your favorite video be that you ever made? I'm sure lots of people ask you that.
It's a tough question. Golly. Well, in terms of story and the number of good jokes that I got in, and I really enjoyed Inventing Swear Words 5. I thought that had a fun story arc. I got to take the characters to Blizzard headquarters, and I got to mash a couple of games together. I used footage from some Steam games in that one, and I got to work with some great people. My buddy Cal did some 3D animation of the dead Calbies that were in that video. The offspring of Lacey, the Tauren woman, and Mortus, the Forsaken guy. They called them dead Calbies, half Tauren, half zombie. And we got to have them dance, and that was a lot of fun. But in terms of music, I think probably one of my favorites is going to be the Oxhorn brand medley.
Yeah.
People keep saying I should do another one because I made so many more songs after that. But at the time, in 2008, I had made like 6 or 7 songs, and I decided to mash them all up into this Celtic music-inspired medley of catchphrases and screams and weird things, and and then I had all my characters that'll do a dance and run around, and that was just so much fun to make. And I was so gratified that the fans actually enjoyed it, because when you make something like that, you kind of think, well, maybe I'm just doing this for myself, or I'm patting myself on the back, or I'm celebrating myself. But then to have the fans watch it and go, oh, this was so much fun, I love the song, I played it in my car, you go, okay, good. Then it wasn't just me, I was actually doing something.
I actually listened to it quite a few times as well, because I just enjoy that type of Celtic music style, and it was relaxing.
Well, I gotta plug Nathan Allen Pennard here, because he helped me with the instruments for that song.
Yeah.
I did all the voice work, and I kind of come up with the tunes and all that, but he was really the mastermind behind all of the instruments and kind of making it sound like a professional song.
Yeah.
He's such a talented guy. He should be doing more work like this, I think.
Yeah, Nathan's really cool. I've talked to Nathan a few times. He's done a lot of music for other people as well. That's been really good.
He has, and he's also scored some games.
Yeah.
He just finished a score for a new game called Tokyo Babylon. That's what it's called. It's available on Steam, and he was really proud of it. He came over to my house a few weeks ago and showed it off to me, and we played it during my show, and it was a fun game. So he's still working.
Well, I don't know if I got any more questions for you. I mean, is there anything else you wanna add or talk about?
Well, your viewers should come to my live show every week.
Yes.
called Scotch and Smoke Rings, and it airs every Thursday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And it's not World of Warcraft. It's not Machinima. I just sit in a chair and smoke cigars and drink scotch and talk.
Well, my viewers often watch me on live streams just eat food and talk, so
There you go.
they'd probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
And is that on Twitch TV
Yeah,
slash
it's-
Oxhorn?
No, it's on Twitch TV / Scotch and Smoke Rings.
Ah.
All one word. And then also just scotchandsmokerings.com. I've got a show section there.
I'll put links to it in the thing for lazy people.
Oh, awesome. You're a gem. You're a gem.
It's the best way. Well, thank you for joining me. I think it was a good talk.
I think so too. This was exactly how I would imagine a fishing chat would go.
Yeah, that's what I wanted from this show. I just wanted to sit down with people and pretty much act like you're on a fishing trip.
Well, it was a success.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for having me.
See you.